what happens when such an innocuous event turns out to be monumental in your life? How do you proceed forward? That's the question I have for our guest today. Hey, folks, I'm trying out a new format in my intro. I hope you like it. This is Chris DT Gordon. Welcome to episode 123. It's easy as ABC. I don't think that's how the song goes, but we're going with it and mumble along as we do. This is Scar Bearers. For those of you who are just joining us on your first time, yeah, it's a little different, but so am I. So we're just going to go with it and have fun. Thank you so much for being here today with me. As always, on the back end of the channel, we have Nate and Britton Barron helping us out in the post-production side of this endeavor. If you want them to help you out on your productions, please reach out to them at Nate Barron. Well, folks, as you are listening to this, school is back in session. Organizations are starting up for the fall season. And unless you are a bunch of automatons and robots, those organizations and schools are filled with people who have struggles, people who need perhaps some more, I don't know, say gratitude and positivity. And if I can help bring that to the table with the attitude of gratitude, please reach out to me at chrisdtgordon.com so we can start to have a conversation. Well, as I teased earlier, I have a guest today who, like me, had something insignificant happen to them, yet it transformed his life. I'm joined by my friend and fellow NF survivor, Tim Hayden. Tim, how are you today?
Doing great, Chris. Doing great. How about yourself?
You know, I'm much better now that we're talking. I know we've known each other for a couple of years, and I've been on your show, The Steep. People should check that out to learn some great information and find out some great stories of survivors there. But as I teased, we both were put in this situation of becoming an NF survivor from such a minuscule act, something that happens to people every day with no dire consequences. So if you wouldn't mind, you maybe share some of your story with us, please.
Sure. Mine started back in 2006. I was a healthy 34-year-old, no health issues or any lingering problems. It started, I guess, on a Friday night. I was at work and I started feeling really, really bad. I mean, just like you had the flu. And I finished my shift and went home. And the next day when I got up, it was even worse. I was cold. I could not get warm. I had like 3 blankets on at one time and couldn't get warm. I just thought it was the flu. My 15-year-old son happened to be with me, and he kept trying to get me to the hospital. And, I was just stubborn because I was healthy. It was just the flu. That's all they would tell me. But he didn't take that so well. So he called my brother, who then in turn came and made me go to the hospital because I was in no shape to argue. I mean, I was barely moving. Everything
you can handle one, but 2, I'm outnumbered.
Exactly. Yeah. And the pain, the pain's indescribable. And it's not a specific area. It was all over my body. And at that point, I had no idea what it was. And the other thing that stood out is thirst. I was so thirsty. I could not get enough water. I just kept drinking bottle after bottle. Well, we ended up going to a little emergency clinic thing. And they took one look at it and said, no, not here. You go right to the ER. Do not stop anywhere. So when we got there, they took me back and they did their regular routine, taking the vitals and all that, which my blood pressure was extremely low and I had a really high fever. I remember that part, and I remember being in the ER on the table, on the bed. And I just remember one doctor coming in and they were going to send me for some tests. And he came in, looked at me, and said, no, I know what this is. Take him straight to the ER. We know what that is, which still, that was probably one of the last things that I do remember myself, other than bits and pieces. I had to have family and friends fill me in on the rest of it. and it still comes back in flashes, you know, different small insignificant things. Well, yeah, they took me to the ER, and like I said, I don't remember. They called my mother because my son was only 15 at the time. He couldn't sign, and my brother was adopted, so they would not accept that.
Really? Interesting.
Yes. So, but they went ahead and took me back, started the debridement and stuff.
Now, can you explain what debridement is for those who might not know?
Debridement is where they go into where your wound is, where the infection or the necrotic tissue is, and they will debride the dead tissue, the necrotic tissue, down till they find some fresh tissue that looks good and pink.
Yeah.
Because they've got to cut away that bacteria or it's just going to keep spreading.
Yep, and to get rid of all of it.
Yes, and they didn't close me up. I mean, they put like 2 little stitches just to hold the flaps. And because they went back in over the next couple of days, they went like 3 more times or 4 more times after that. And I still had no clue what it was. So I guess after 3 days, I was lucid enough or I was to comprehend what people were saying to me. And even when he told me what it was, I had never heard of it. Nobody in my family had ever heard of it. And, you know, so I didn't have to deal with the anxiety of it. I know they told me that my mom had to sign off on them possibly amputating my arm as, you know, as a last resort. And the thing that I didn't see that made them recognize it was just a red streak. Just a red streak going up my arm. And it had started to cross my chest. And that's about when the surgeon came in, or the infectious disease doctor came and said to take you to the OR.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And like I said, for the life of me, I couldn't figure out where I had gotten it. Come to find out, I had just a little superficial scratch on my knuckle. I mean, not even enough to bleed.
It looks like your index finger knuckle on your left hand.
Yes, sorry.
No worries.
I'm used to video, not just audio.
No worries. No.
But
yes, yeah, no, I guess the point is what I'm trying to make is mine occurred on like the knuckle of my middle finger on my hand. You know, something that I'm sure to you as well happened hundreds of times before without us going to the hospital.
Exactly. I mean, like I said, it didn't even bleed. It didn't require a Band-Aid because it didn't bleed. It was just, but you know, necrotizing fasciitis or strep A is what the offending bacteria for me was that caused my NF. And it can come through, and even a bug bite, mosquito bite, needle injection site. You'd be amazed how. And sometimes you don't even have to have a site. If you've had a trauma to a certain area to where blood could build up, sometimes you can get it that way too.
Yes, I've heard instances where people had some blunt force and there was no wound, you know, external wound, but then they developed NF because of that force.
But then they've got to go on with not knowing, you know, how did I get it?
Yeah.
You know, that's
even more. I would find that, you know, just more frustrating. You know, yes, getting a scratch in your hand, almost dying. That's, you know, that really can frustrate you. But you know, even not having a wound is, I would think that would be a little worse. So you spent 10 days in the hospital?
I spent 10 days in the hospital, and I probably would have spent more, but they kind of booted me because I wasn't quite the best patient, we'll say. Wasn't the friendliest, but
Gotcha.
They let me out. But due to let me out like they did, I had to come back every single day for wound care. I had to go through the whirlpool, put my arm down the whirlpool bath to help stimulate some of that muscle and tissue growth.
Okay. Now, did you spend any time? I guess I should ask, how much time did you spend in the hospital bed? Maybe, you know, confined to a gurney or a hospital bed?
It was 10 days.
It was the whole 10 days.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
If I
All
went
right.
out, which at the time, I was a smoker and you could smoke outside at the time. So I couldn't even go out there without a wheelchair. I mean, even when I left the hospital, they still wouldn't.
Mhm.
So all I did was when physical therapy came in, I had to do the laps for them to
Yep.
sign off. I had to be able to do a certain distance for them to sign off to send me home. And
Okay.
I accomplished that.
Okay. So you get kindly removed from the hospital after 10 days. And
Yes.
then you were in as I call it, home therapy, or yeah, home therapy, outpatient therapy for the
Yes.
next 3 weeks. And
Yes.
at that by that time, was everything healed up, or was it
Yes.
to a point where you could
One,
do it yourself?
um, I couldn't, it was on my left hand. So when you were doing bandages, it was difficult to hold your bandage and wrap it at the same time. So luckily I had my mother here who was alive at the time who begrudgingly helped. she she didn't like gore or any of
Mhm.
that. But yeah, she helped me a lot with that. And then I think one of my biggest complaints were the staples. One of those staples out. And finally the doctor's like, right there. I mean, I wasn't even in an exam room. I was in his physical office and he just popped them out right there.
Nice.
That's how much I had healed, though,
Okay.
that it wasn't open any longer.
Yeah. Yeah. So after the staples were removed and you don't have to go to the hospital every day, how did life proceed for you after that?
It was hard for a while. Luckily, I am right-handed, and that was not my right hand, wasn't my dominant hand. But you'd be surprised what you do with your non-dominant hand. Uh, it, I guess it took me almost 8 months to get to about 80% usage of my arm again.
Okay.
Because where they cut me on the back of the hand, in between two knuckles down to my wrist, that was in a very bad area to,
Hmm.
because anytime I moved my hand, it would tear it open or cause pain.
Okay. Now, how much scarring or, I guess, did they have to do any skin grafting, first of all?
No, I was very lucky because that doctor knew what it was as soon as he saw it. I don't know the testing process now, but
Mhm.
back then they would do a culture and it would take 3 days to determine if you had necrotizing fasciitis because it took that long for that bacteria to grow
Yeah.
outside of the body. Um, oh yeah, something I did forget to tell you. Back then there was no familiar treatments. I mean, there's still not a treatment, but they kind of have an idea of steps to take. Back then they
Mhm.
didn't. So I was on 11 antibiotics at one time.
Oh,
And another reason they had left my wounds open, is because they decided at the time there hadn't been any studies, but they tried the hyperbaric chamber
yep.
because, to me, that bacteria does not like oxygen.
Mhm.
That's why it starts from the inside out. Oxygen can kill it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that wasn't a pleasant trip either. Busted one of my eardrums. That wasn't a fun adventure.
Oof. So how many hyperbaric oxygen treatments did you partake?
I tolerated 2.5.
Okay.
An hour at a time. The half was when my eardrum busted, and
Oh
they had to
man.
decompress and get me out because the pain. The NF was worse. The NF pain was worse. I'll say that, but the ear wasn't a fun trip
Oh wow.
either.
I'm sorry you had that. I mean, I remember, my experience with the hyperbaric treatments, and it was not. I didn't find it that bad, and so I apologize that you had to go through that. Of course, I had gone through my experience 9 years after yours, so I think in that time, maybe 11. Yeah. You said 2004.
6.
6. Okay, so 9. I was correct. Um, things have progressed since then.
Right. Because now
But
not all hospitals, but now they have hyperbaric chamber rooms. When
yes,
I
that's what
went
I had.
in, it was literally a 16-inch round clear tube
Oh
that they
wow.
slid me in. I couldn't, there was no room to move. It was not fun.
It sounds like one of those iron lungs that they created in the 40s and 50s.
It was actually smaller than one of those.
Oof.
If you think about the corrugated tile that's at the end of your driveway for the water to drain through, it's just a little bit bigger than that.
Oh, wow. Okay. That does not sound like fun. Again, I'm sorry.
It wasn't fun, but I made it through. And
yep.
In hindsight, I am happy that it was me that was affected. It was not a family member, a friend, because I couldn't imagine going through what they went through.
Yeah.
They had to make the decisions. They didn't know if I was going to live or not. Didn't know if I was going to have an arm or not. Had to make that decision. That the weight, during surgeries, I just would not want to go through what they went through.
Yeah, I sometimes try to imagine what my own family experienced while I was out. And you're right. I don't want you to ever have to face that, because the way they explain it, and I'm sure they're not sharing everything with me, even still today, was just heartrending. And so I am thankful that they're in my life so they can make those decisions so I can still be here.
Right.
So, but back to your post hospitalization time. And you said that you had a hard time. It took months and months to get that arm to 80%. At what point were you? What's that?
It was my hand more than my arm.
Your hand. I'm sorry, your hand. I'm used to saying arm for my own situation.
It was my arm, but my hand is what was the toughest to recover.
Yeah. So at what point did you decide, I might not be the only person dealing with this, and I have to take some steps, because there is a difference between surviving and living. Surviving means you're able to keep yourself out of a giant hole. Living is experiencing what life has to offer. So how did you make that choice from surviving to living?
There were things that I was scared to do. Water that had the fear in me, just getting a scratch even. I guess it took me about a year, and I was like, no, I'm not going to let fear control me. I'm just not going to do that. It's not going to run my life. It's not going to make my decisions for me, because I wouldn't have much of a life if I did that. And gradually over time, I'm almost 16 years out. I don't really, when I get a scratch, it's not the first thing that pops into my head now. But I am thankful, because I know what to look for. I know to look for streaks. I know to look for certain types of colors of redness or spreading, to know to get treatment from even a minor wound.
Mm-hmm. And so, that's fantastic that you're able to overcome that fear, because we both know people who are still struggling in that place. And, we can say as much as we want, but, it's up to them to, take those steps. And I hope they find the peace that they, where they can, make that move. But
everybody recovers differently at different paces, emotionally and physically. So, you can't, when you're talking to someone who is having a problem, they're like, well, how long is it going to last? You can't say it's only going to be about a year, because you don't know how that person can process things.
Yeah. And like, you and me, we had the same type of wound, but vastly different results. Yours was on your hand, mine affected my upper right side of my body and my left leg because of other surgical procedures. So yeah, we're like scarred up little snowflakes.
Well, the only two places they cut me was, like I said, on the back of my hand, about 6 inches down. From my knuckles down towards my wrist, and then my upper bicep on the inside, there was about an 8-inch slice or cut. It's shrank now because of all the years. It used to be about right there from my.
Oh wow! It looks like it looks like the natural striation of your arm. It looks like you're flexing. You're trying to show off for me.
And they did that for even my hand. They cut it in between the knuckles and the valley where
Yeah.
it's not noticeable unless I point it out.
Yeah, exactly. I would not even notice anything if you hadn't said something.
Right. And I'm thankful for that. I had some great doctors. And one of the nurses, I happened to go to school with her and my mother were best friends. And she was leaving for the day. She just happened to walk by and see me on the bed going to the OR. And she just dropped her stuff. She said, "Oh no, I've got this," which, I call her my guardian angel because she took me from the start to finish there, from operations to operation. Jerry was great.
That's awesome.
And that makes a difference if you have a good team.
Yes, it certainly does. It certainly does. So you're recovered mentally, mostly mentally and physically. I want to get to the point where you decide, you know what, I want to help other people out and start this, national or Necrotizing Fasciitis Foundation. How did that come about? Because when you contacted me, it was already well established.
Right. Well, it was about 6 years ago. I was in another necrotizing fasciitis support group, which is a great support group, but it was more laid back. It was more just chit chat, comedy stuff, posts like that. And me and a couple of the others were talking, and we decided that we wanted to do something more educational and supportive. And so Melissa Sanders and Aaron Elizabeth and I and someone else started the group. And when I started the group, I had no idea, no clue what was to come from that. I met up with, all along the time, people kept saying, "Are you going to start a nonprofit? You've got to start a nonprofit." Like, no, I'm not doing that. That's too much. I'm not going to do that. And finally, we went. I was taken to Dallas to do a talk for a biopharmaceutical company, and I was talking to their medical professionals about necrotizing fasciitis, and I got asked probably 30 times if we were going to start a nonprofit. And that is the same time that I met Melissa in person. So she and I got to talk, and we're like, we've got to at least look into it. And so it'll be 5 years this September when it officially opened. And since then, we've grown a bunch. And I think the support group is great. It's the best source for NF information because there's not a lot of studies out there on after effects or long-term effects or anything like that. So you can't get it better information than directly from someone who went through it.
Yeah.
What helped them, what made it better for them, and they're able to do that in this group.
And I think also from my perspective, when you hear of flesh-eating bacteria, it's almost science fiction. It almost sounds like some kind of horrible B movie plot. But to talk with someone who survived it and can tell you not only the physical ramifications, but the physical, the emotional and mental, I think really shines a light on how devastating it can be, but how strong the human spirit is as well, because we have some fantastic warriors in that group.
For sure. And being infected in areas that you can't even imagine. I mean, your face, half your face being affected, or your neck, your throat area being affected, or for anybody, the groin area, which is your Foreigner's gangrene. Those are just horrible. I can't even imagine going through that.
Yeah,
and they're strong.
Yeah, they definitely are. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about the different functions and services that the the NF and the NF group provides?
The NF group provides emotional support. And like I said, they could tell you from their experience, and it's a closed group, so it's a safe place. It's only for survivors, loved ones, or caregivers, because it's not everybody's business. I want everybody there to feel comfortable to be able to discuss what they want to discuss. And then, like I said, it morphed into the foundation, which the foundation now, we have a wound care closet. We've shipped out hundreds and hundreds of packages of wound care supplies to survivors who need them and can't afford them. Because we all know insurance is kind of tricky. We've got our ambassadorship program, and you go above and beyond to spread awareness. We want to identify you. We want to celebrate you doing that. So, you get a shirt, and we get write it up on the website and our social media sites. We've got pamphlets coming out here in a month or two. We're going to start shipping out we're getting the pamphlets in a month or two. You can download them off the site, and we're going to have some to ship to people to ask them to put them in their healthcare facilities, their doctor's offices, their hospitals, because right now we're not large enough to do that ourselves. So we need to ask our support from our members, and we get good support from our members.
Yeah, and so many of those members have actually taken up leadership roles.
Yes, they have. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the whole foundation is ran by volunteers. Mm-hmm. And everybody that's on the board has been affected in some way, shape, or form. You're either a survivor or a loved one. And I can't tell you how phenomenal this team is. I mean, Colleen and Heidi's, Alicia, Jen, Lindsay, and Melissa, Katie. There wouldn't be a foundation without them. And Lindsay, I just got to give a big shout out to her. She's my ride or die in this. we've met in group. We've developed a best friend relationship, and luckily she only lives about an hour and a half away, so we visit each other often.
Oh wow, that's so fantastic.
And she's a great leader. She is a great co-CEO. I couldn't ask for anybody else. I had surgery a few weeks ago. I was off for a little bit, for about a week.
Non-NF related, right?
Yes, non-NF related. No. They just had to clean out some stuff in my shoulder. It was just giving me trouble. Some bone spurs and stuff. But she jumped in, and she just took it all alone for the time that I was recovering. And I couldn't ask for another better partner.
That's fantastic. Yeah, they are a constant presence in that group on Facebook, so it's great. I do have to say though, I am hoping that one day I'll be able to make the in-person 5K that you guys have down there in Kentucky.
Well, you might put the last weekend of May on your calendar for next year. That's what we're aiming for. That's when we usually do it.
Okay.
And it'll be in Louisville again.
I will look for it. I know it's a bit tough for me to get away with the end of school and stuff, but I would love to meet you all in person. That'd be fantastic.
Oh, we would love to meet you. Our first one was in 2019. There were probably 40 survivors there. Mm-hmm. And oh my God, it was so much fun. We had so much fun that day. But yeah, we do an in-person event every other year. And then the opposite year, we do a virtual event. Yeah. Where you can still participate. You still get the same garb that we send out. So, you're not missing out about being virtual. You just got to get your friends and family instead of your peers and survivors.
Yeah, exactly. So what is coming up for you personally, Tim, or the foundation as a whole? We were talking about the 5K.
For the foundation, we've got, like I said, we've got the pamphlets coming out. We've also fixing to have a quarterly newsletter coming out. We're looking to bring on some more professionals like surgeons to help have a direct contact, more of a direct contact, which we got one now, Dr. Eileen Bulger, Harborview Medical out in Washington, Seattle. By far, she is the best person, the best doctor. She sees probably more NF cases than any other doctor in the US because she's got the West Coast and Alaska. They send them down to her. They see a lot out there at Harborview.
Yeah.
But
all right.
she's always, if anybody has questions, they can submit them to me and she will take them and she'll answer and send me a response pretty quick too.
That's great. Yeah, it is good to have someone so immersed and so invested to help people out like that.
And like I said, it's all volunteer, and she never asks for a thing. Never asks for a thing in return. And it's hard to find professionals like that will donate their time who's so busy.
Yes.
That they make the time for you. That's big.
That is huge. That is huge. Well, how about you personally, Tim? Anything you're aiming for or looking forward to?
Well, we have a show now on YouTube called The Steep, and we've been doing interviews with survivors and medical professionals. I can't really go into detail, but look for a shift in platform on that. A shift.
All right.
I mean, we're still going to do the survivors, that aspect, but we're going to try to bring on another aspect just to draw in more people to bring more awareness to NF.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I'm trying to work on something with that. Like I said, I can't really go into it because I've not got anything confirmed yet.
No worries.
But I'm looking forward to it. If it happens, I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to figure out what the surprise is.
It'll be worth it, I think. I think it'll be enjoyable.
Well, excellent. Well, Tim, can you give us some places where we can find out about you and about the Steep and about the foundation?
Absolutely. You can go to www.necfasc.org. That's necfasc.org. And we have a landing page there now, which is new to the website. You go there, you'll find access to our social media links, the Steep, everything. Lee Spark Foundation, which is another sister organization in the UK. That's a Necrotizing Fasciitis organization we work with very closely. You find all of our stuff there. You can find us on Twitter and on Instagram at NecFasc, NECFASC, found, NecFasc found, FOUN. We've got 2 pages on Facebook, the Steep, and then the Necrotizing Fasciitis Foundation. We usually pop up pretty quick in the search for that. You can find the show on any podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, any of those. So yeah, we're really trying to spread out our reach through social media.
You're doing a great job of it, because every time I get on YouTube or Facebook, I see something new from the foundation or from you personally. So keep up the great work. It's great to see that outreach happening. So a couple more questions, Tim. First of all, I want to ask you, you know me, I'm a gratitude guy. And I want to ask you, what is something that at the time that it happened, and you could probably give the obvious answer here, that you didn't think much of it, weren't very thankful for it, that now when you look back, you're grateful to have it in your life?
Believe it or not, Chris, and I don't talk about this much just because sometimes it starts bad arguments. God.
Mm-hmm.
God got me through all of that. And now, back then, I am a believer, I always have been a believer in God, but I never paid much attention like I should have back then. Mm-hmm. And now I look at it and I'm like, couldn't have made it through without him.
Yeah.
And my mother, God rest her soul, she was there every day, the whole time I was awake until I went to sleep in the hospital. She was there. I'm really thankful. And at this point, I'm thankful for the group. my fellow survivors because they motivate me. Before I started the group, I didn't do anything. I sat around and watched TV all day, which was no lie. This group gives me a purpose, a reason, and a gift to get up to every day because I love helping people. I just do.
Well, we are very grateful for you, Tim. You have impacted my life positively, and I'm so thankful that you reached out to me. And so, thank you for all you've done.
I hope to do a lot more.
Well, good. Yeah, that's all we can do is our best. So I think
I've pretty much dedicated my life to it. I belong to a few other nonprofits, but they know this one comes first. Yep. The NFF comes first.
Gotcha.
And it always will. In the group, people have asked me a long time ago, because we've had a lot of administration come and go in the group, and I won't give that up. I don't care. I'll always be part of that group.
Gotcha. Well, again, I'm so thankful that you decided to take up this charge and impact so many lives. So thank you.
I hope I am. And I do it. I don't do it for any other reason than just to do it. Yeah. Just to help. I don't expect anything in return.
Yeah. Well, keep up the good work, sir. And I have my last question here.
Yes, sir.
What is your favorite dinosaur?
Brontosaurus, always.
And why Brontosaurus?
Because they're so large, but yet so gentle. Mm-hmm. Like my favorite animal is a whale, blue whale. Love them. But I think it's the size because it's hard for my mind to grasp the size. Because a blue whale is literally the size of my home. So, yeah. To put that in your mind perspective, I've never seen one, but I hope that's a life go. I want to see a whale out in the wild. Yeah,
that's good to have a bucket list, have something to aim for. So
Brontosaurus is mine.
Very cool.
Big and they're so nice.
Yes. Well, Tim, it's been a pleasure to talk with you today. Thank you so much for your time and best wishes on your continued success with the foundation.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here and asking me to be here. Thank you for doing the show too, because it helps a lot of people. It helps a lot of people.
Well, thank you very much. So folks, if you want to see what Tim has going on and for the STEEP or for the Necrotizing Fasciitis Foundation, you can check the show notes below. If you want to talk with me about how the attitude of gratitude can positively impact your life and those around you, you can reach out to me at chris@chrisdtgordon.com or go to chrisdtgordon.com and just check around, see what else interests you. Maybe you can get a nice tag shirt there and inspire those around you to become more grateful. Please also like, subscribe, share these messages of hope and inspiration to help others if they're having a dark day to find that bright light that can help give them some inspiration for tomorrow. And with that, folks, I thank you so much for being here with me today. Please have a great day. And remember to pass on perfection and go for greatness.